Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to day 3 of National Graduate Week, brought to you by CareerMap Media Group. Today, I am joined by Sage, who have an exciting panel session planned. You will have a chance to hear from colleagues who are at varying career stages. They will share their distinctive graduate entry into Sage stories, where they are now, and why they chose Sage. Now, Sage are recruiting from December, so if you do find this presentation interesting, then be sure to reach out around that time. Some other things to remember today are that this session is being recorded, so if you do miss something, don't worry because it will be emailed out after the event. And also, you can ask questions throughout the presentation in the chat box, and we will try our best to answer all of them at the end during our Q&A session. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to Sage now. So Vicky and Co, when you're ready.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We'll just wait for the rest of the panel to join. Hi Chantel, hi Jared, welcome.
Hello.
I can see 2 spinning screens currently. Is that just me or is that you as well?
I can also see 2 spinning screens.
Okay,
I think one of them's me.
Oh, gosh, we've got audio but not video. So I think what we'll do, I'll introduce myself and then I'll introduce you to Jared and Chantel from Sage. And then hopefully by then we'll have Alicia and Shannon online as well. Lovely to see everybody already starting to say hello in the chat. So please do continue and make us feel like we're wanted and welcome. Always helps when you're doing these virtual webinars and chats. My name is Victoria Rowland and my role at Sage is a very special one. I feel privileged every day to be in my career, I promise you. I'm actually the Global Early Careers Manager for Sage. What that means is I'm responsible for the teams across the globe that bring in absolutely amazing apprentices, graduates and interns into the business, like the people that you're going to meet today. So when people say that dream jobs don't exist, I would beg to differ because I'm living that every day. Jared, I'd love to hand over to you for a quick introduction.
Yep. Hello, my name's Jared. I'm a graduate content designer here at Sage. So if you do know what that means, brilliant, because there was a long time where I didn't. And if you don't know what that means, it essentially means that I do the words for Sage. So my job involves writing content and producing content for Sage's products. I've been at Sage for a month now, and I feel like it's really flown by. And in terms of my educational background, what I would say is that I've taken what you might call a slightly less than standard career route to get into this role. So I completed my undergraduate degree at Newcastle University in journalism, and I did that between 2015 and 2018. And then I decided that I wanted to go and be a teacher for 3 years. So it wasn't specific at the time that it was going to be for 3 years, but that's how long it ended up being. Following that, I thought, right, it's time for a change. So I moved back to Newcastle and I did a master's degree in computer science. And that's where I then came to arrive at Sage. So I've had a bit of a squiggly career route. And I think if I can give you anything today, as I talk through a few different things, it's that is okay. And squiggly career routes are really awesome. So I'll pass you on to the next panelist now, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thanks, Jared. And aren't we glad that you decided to leave teaching? You know, I'm sure they weren't, but we certainly were. And Chantel, over to you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon from Newcastle as well. So my name is Chantel and I completed my bachelor's in computer science in 2021. From then I joined Sage last year as a graduate machine learning engineer, and so I've been here for a year and it's been a brilliant time. I can't believe it's flown by so fast.
Neither can I. I mean, you blink and you miss it, right? They do say time flies when you're having fun, and I think it certainly has in your case. Alicia, we can hear and see you now. That's brilliant. I'll come to you in just a second. Shannon, how about you and your entry?
Yeah, no problem. So, hi, I'm Shannon Harris, and I'm an operations manager working on a couple of products here at Sage. So, I graduated from Coventry University in 2019 with a first-class degree in business management, and I joined Sage in October 2020 as a graduate product marketing manager.
Shannon, and last but not least, Alicia, over to you.
Hi, I'm Alicia. So I am a people graduate currently at Sage. So I've literally just started in October. And my degree was in psychology at first over at Sussex University. Then after that, I decided I wanted to become a teacher. So I did a PGCE over at Birmingham University. Decided I didn't want to do that, and that wasn't for me. And now here I am.
And I'm particularly glad that you're here, and not more than Jared, but Alicia's in my team. So I'm very lucky to have Alicia and other people, graduates, working directly with me. So I feel very honoured. Brilliant. Thank you all so much for introducing yourself. It's lovely to see the questions coming in already for the end. We're going to go to the panel session now. So our first question is, what made you choose the graduate programme at Sage? Who would like to take that?
I'll take that, Vicky. Okay. So if I'm being totally honest, Sage wasn't the first company that I joined straight after graduating. I actually joined a company straight out of university because I believed it was right at that time. But a few months in, I actually realised it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I did feel a bit underutilised at the start. And I didn't feel like there was a solid enough career path there for me. There wasn't much kind of room for me to learn and develop as an individual. But I absolutely wouldn't change that experience, as I actually learned what I didn't want. And I think that was a really key learning opportunity, being my first graduate job. And that's when I actually started looking at other opportunities. I didn't want to stay somewhere that didn't fulfill me. So that's when I quickly came across the graduate program here at Sage. It really, really interested me and really intrigued me. And for somebody that actually studied quite a broad degree at university, I knew that I didn't want to really specialise too early in my career. And I actually wanted something that I'd be able to get some variety from, and somewhere that I knew that would actually be a really great place for me to not only start my career, but actually build on my career. I think I actually knew that I wanted to be in software and technology due to the industry being so fast-paced, current and ever-changing, and that's something I really enjoy. So applying to Sage and the graduate scheme was kind of a no-brainer at the time, to be honest. It encompassed everything that I was absolutely looking for. It suited my degree, and when I read about the scheme, I just knew it was somewhere that I wanted to be. And with it being a global company as well, working with people from all over the world, and offering that variety, I knew that was something I needed. So the only thing that was kind of left for me at that point was to get through the application process. And thankfully, even kind of through that process, and despite it being competitive, I really, really felt like it was the right fit. And thankfully the team saw the energy and passion that I could actually bring to Sage, and yeah, that's what brought me here.
I remember it fondly, and I'm delighted that you've stuck with us as well, and you're now thriving, which I'm sure that we're going to hear a little bit more about shortly. Thanks, Shannon. Would anybody else like to contribute on that question?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Thanks,
so from doing my teaching degree, I knew exactly what I didn't want to do anymore. And I knew the type of workplace I wanted to be in. And I had literally a list of what I needed from a company that I was going to work for. So wrote down what I thought I was good at, came to doing HR. So I was like, right, okay, I need to find graduate schemes in HR. Found Sage, and being from Birmingham, Sage isn't really in Birmingham. It's really big, like up north. A lot of people seem to know about it up there. But honestly, just from researching the company and looking at all their values and the things that they do for charity and how they really help the community outside them, to me, that was a massive thing working for a company anyway. So that's when I decided, yep, 100%, I want to apply for Sage. This is where I want to be. And then I had my lovely interview with you, Vicky. And I remember coming off the phone and literally saying, this is where I want to work. If I don't get it this year, I'm going again next year. I literally said to my whole family, I don't want to work anywhere but Sage. So if I don't get it, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to try again next year. So yeah, that's literally why I applied to the graduate scheme, because after looking at it and all the opportunities you get given, and just the people who work there, that you can literally just see what they're doing, even on the website and just through going on the Instagram and stuff like that, you can really get a taste for it. And that's literally why I chose the graduate scheme.
And again, absolutely delighted that you did. And also, you made a really brave move, didn't you? A really brave move to relocate and you've made lots of new friends in only a short space of time. So what an amazing decision that was. Thank you. Moving on to our next question. I will probably aim this at you, Shannon, as you just touched upon your application process, but I wondered if anyone else is interested. How did you find the application process for jobs that you applied for, and in particular at Sage?
Yeah, sure, I'll take that one then. So I think applications and graduate schemes is something that's so drilled into you when you even first start university. But kind of despite how prepared university made us feel for the process, it's still so daunting. And when it hit final year, it was sort of kind of non-stop. And I was just always that person that really dreaded interviews. And although I felt like I had some good experience behind me to be able to apply to the situational type questions, I think that I definitely overthought and actually probably to an extent over prepared. As I think when you're like given tips about interviews, it often comes across about as being kind of better than the person next to you. But I totally disagree. It's not about being better at all. It's just about being willing to learn, willing to adapt, and willing to just really work hard. And I think as long as you show your character and your personality, the right company will decide to just take that chance. And obviously it helps if you've kind of clearly done well to get where you are today, but ultimately it will work out where it's supposed to work out. And I do strongly believe that. And I just think that's the difference when I interviewed with Sage. I just felt so comfortable straight away. Despite it being a competitive process, honestly, it's no process is ever easy. But it was just a really natural feeling. And I think the whole process just felt so smooth and actually quite quick, actually, because some processes can actually leave you waiting quite a long time. But I really didn't feel like Sage did. Even from like the application to the video interview, even right up to the assessment center, it just didn't set you up to fail. They wanted to, like, Vicky really wanted to know you as individuals, and the panel wanted to know you as individuals and just what you can really bring to Sage.
I think that's a really important point, is it? Yes, you've got to have some skill sets, but there's not a lot that if you enter an employer as a graduate, they can't teach you. So it's more about, as Shannon says, your willingness to learn and your personality, and do Sage's values meet your values? And that's really important. I think always be your authentic self is the message there. Thank you, Shannon. Jared, you poor thing, we lost you momentarily. I'm now going to pick on you because of that. We just asked Shannon, how did you find the application process for jobs you applied for? Are you happy to talk about your experience?
Yeah, of course. I think I'd probably start by saying that I don't know anyone who gets incredibly excited about just applying jobs. Maybe there is someone somewhere who wakes up in the morning and has a desire to update their CV and fire cover letters out and things like that. But I think for a lot of people, it can be quite a daunting process. I definitely know that for me as a person, I felt like the idea of imposter syndrome in the past, and sometimes, you know, just the idea of, oh, I've got an interview coming up, can be quite a nervous process. But I think especially with Sage, that process, a lot of those fears were really alleviated for me. I actually applied to Sage 3 times this year, so I feel like I really know the process quite well now. There was a small period in August where applying and doing interviews for Sage had become a sort of Groundhog Day, time loop repeated process. But I actually found that the process itself really wasn't very stressful at all. So it got my application to Sage this year got broken down into 3 parts. It starts off with a short video interview where you introduce yourself and you talk a little bit about some questions that they might have for you. And then after that, if you're successful at that stage, I was then invited to an assessment center day, which had two different elements to it. It had a small group element, and then it had an individual element as well. I think in a lot of these situations, it can feel quite nerve-wracking or scary to hear the words assessment day or interview, but actually, when it comes down to those things, all the company wants to know, and in particular Sage wanted to know, was things about me. So the questions were all kind of directed to in a way of asking things like, have you had any experience with this, or what do you know about this? And it's just a chance for you to be able to talk about and show the things that you've done in your life. especially in terms of the individual assessment, the individual interview. I thought that the hiring managers and the people on those calls were really welcoming and really warm. I was met by smiles, friendly faces. It had a very chatty tone to it at times. So it was just a really lovely experience. And I think can be very easy to go into those situations feeling quite nervous or quite worried. But actually, my entire experience of the Sage application process was quite the opposite. They do a number of things as well to alleviate things like feeling stressed about traveling on the day because the process was done remotely. And so there's a lot of parts to really like about that. And it really reassured me throughout that process that it was the right company for me to choose and the right company for me to work at.
It's really great feedback. Thank you, Jared. And I think it's safe to say that if you do feel red flags in the application process, i.e. the people that you meet on the panel are not your cup of tea, or you just made you feel awkward in any way, it's probably not the employer for you. So really think about how they're making you feel, because that could be how they're going to make you feel when you're in employment with them. Also at Sage, we're really happy to make any accommodations that people need throughout any of the process. All you need to do is ask one of the recruiters, and they'll be more than happy to help. Thanks both. How have you found the transition from being at university to being in the workplace? Very different, I would imagine. Who wants to take that?
I'll take it.
Thanks,
I feel like the transition, it's hard, but it's doable. And I feel like it really is dependent on what your degree's in. So transitioning from a teaching degree to being in a workplace isn't that different because you're used to going in every single day, 9 to 5 already. But the main bit of the transition is, I think it's the workload. I think everybody tells you when you're in university, like as soon as you go to the workplace, it's going to be constant, like you don't have any time to do this, you don't have any time to do that, but you actually do. And to me, the transition has been so nice because I've got to sit down with people, talk to people who I probably never would have crossed paths with, people who have actually really inspired me to already, I've only been there for like a month, look into different parts of HR and really like expose myself to different things. So I think the transition is actually quite nice, and it's never as daunting as you think it's going to be. And working for somewhere like Sage, if at any moment you were there and you said, this is too much, I feel really overwhelmed, in an instant you'd have people rallying around you to help you. And I think that's something that's making me always feel a lot calmer, is that I know that I can literally just pick up the phone and call somebody and they'll calm me down. I literally did that to you, didn't I, Vicky? A couple of days ago, I had a little breakdown in the morning, sent them a message, and it was all sorted. It wasn't even a proper breakdown. It was just me being over dramatic. But it's just that niceness to know that there is people there for you, and that's really what makes the transition so much easier, because you are so well supported and so well looked after.
Yeah, and it's all part of being human, isn't it? It's new, it's unknown, and unknown territory can be really scary if you don't have the right people around you to guide you through it. I would never have mentioned that wobble, Alicia, don't you worry. I haven't told you. Thank you. Would anybody else like to give their perspective on that?
Yeah, so when I think my transition was actually really smooth, like surprisingly smooth. In fact, like, because at university, I was very much the person that just wanted to run around, do everything. And one thing I really enjoyed was work with my careers department. So what we did was organize events for like careers fairs, work with employers, work on employability, things like that. So that was something I really enjoyed. And then I came to Sage and I didn't have to leave that behind. And so it made that transition a lot easier, because I feel like you don't get told about the other things you do aside your job. I thought I'd be, in front of a computer all day. So I work in machine learning now, which means it's just coding and data science, which is great. But I didn't really want to be there forever. I don't want to just be stuck behind the computer the entire time. And so I'm able to go to careers fairs that Sage is invited to, go to industry event that Sage is also invited to, universities, colleges, things like that, and still continue talking about employability and what an employer Sage is and things to look for when you are transitioning from schooling to work. So I found my transition really smooth. I was able to bring myself to work. I didn't have to leave the things I didn't want to, in a way, like things I really enjoyed. I got to bring that with me, and that was exciting. That was really cool.
I must admit, I think, Chantel, we all get confused as to whether you're in the early careers team or not, because you do as much with us as our own team members do. And I hope that never changes. You're our go-to person, you know that. So thank you for everything. I'm going to be a bit mean here, Shannon, just because you are the only one that's in a substantive role. But how did it feel when you moved from the graduate programme into the substantive role? I bet it was quite scary, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was scary. But I had the opportunity to graduate from the 2-year program, because typically the graduate program is 2 years. But I actually graduated 6 months early to be able to pursue a different challenge in the product operations world. And obviously I came from the product marketing world, but it was still in the same business unit. But I really wanted to give myself a different challenge and broaden the opportunity that Sage actually presents. So not only was I finishing the program early, but I was also starting a new role that I was lucky enough to secure. So that was scary, but I equally felt really proud of myself and really happy that my career was actually progressing in a way that I wanted it to, I guess. And although it seems like a difficult choice at that time, leaving a role that I really enjoyed, I knew that having that experience in a different role would really help me develop as an individual, because I love variety, and just getting more experience and pushing me outside of my comfort zone was really key to me at that time. At the moment, I work quite closely with senior leaders in the role that I'm in. And I actually get given quite a lot of responsibility and trust to lead and work on a fair amount of important projects here at Sage. So similar to what my colleagues have already spoken about today, sometimes I definitely feel a sense of imposter syndrome. And although I've worked so hard to get where I am, I sometimes feel a sense of, oh, can I do this? And I do start doubting myself, but the team I work with ultimately have put their trust in me, and they've put their trust in me for a reason. So I've just got to keep working hard, learning and growing, and even if that is by making a few mistakes. As Alicia said, you're so supported here at Sage, and I do think you are given that room to make mistakes, because they are important learning curves, to be honest. And I feel like I can actually be really, really open and transparent with my team and really express how I'm actually feeling. It is a really great collaborative environment here. And I just want to say I really enjoy what I do. It's not always comfortable. It's not always straightforward. But I do believe they're the key things that really help you learn and grow as an individual and push you to be that person that you're ultimately becoming. And I'm really looking forward to continuing my career at Sage and taking all of the opportunities that I'm able to.
I think that's a really important key takeaway, actually, isn't it? Because success very rarely happens in your comfort zone. If you don't push yourself outside of it, it's a lot harder to achieve the things that you want to do.
Exactly.
And all of our panelists here today have pushed themselves out of their comfort zone, because believe it or not, audience, none of us really enjoy doing this. It's all a little bit scary for people. So I think we're all hiding the nerves very well today. But yeah, examples are sort of going above and beyond of doing things like this and engaging in things that you might not necessarily do naturally. So well done, all of you. What appealed to you most about Sage? I love this question because I have my own answers. It's not about me. Who would like to take that?
Yeah, I can go for this one. I think loads of things. When I initially applied for the role, I knew first and foremost that I wanted to leave the master's degree that I was doing and to go into a graduate program. So I had that stability and learning curve. And I knew a few people in the company who I spoke to who really recommended it. They said they talked to me about the benefits of working here, and they said that they really enjoyed their sort of work-life balance and that they were able to work in a positive culture. So from there, I went sort of towards Glassdoor reviews, as you do, trying to sort of find out a little bit more about the company, see what the interview process is like, and so on. And that was, again, really reassuring. So at the time at which I then came to applying for a role, I started looking through Sage's website, and it just became sort of one thing after another that I was like, oh, that's really great. That's really cool that they do that. So one of the biggest and best things is that Sage has a whole section of their business called the Sage Foundation. And the Sage Foundation is a huge part of the business that supports and works with charities around the world and non-profit organizations around the world. And colleagues are given at the company are given 5 days a year that they can take as volunteering days, where you can either work on projects that are organized by the foundation itself, or you can work with a variety of other charities. And it's really great because while you get those 5 days, you're allowed to split that time up as you like. So, for example, say you had something that was it was half a day here and half a day there. It doesn't have to be sort of bulk put into one sort of subsection. So that sort of charitable arm of Sage was something that I thought was really appealing. And then as I read more and more about the different roles that I was looking at, when I started, I applied for, as I said, 3 different roles. One was in content design and another one was in accessibility. So Sage are really, really big on accessibility and inclusion. And that was something that was kind of like a non-negotiable for me for wherever I worked. I really wanted to be part of a digital company in a digital world that was building towards a better future for all of its customers and sort of all people as well. When I started to read about Sage's accessibility pledges and statements, at first they kind of didn't mean a whole great deal to me because they were written about products that I didn't understand or I didn't know. But what I did garner from that and get from it was that the company put all of its a number of its statements for different products online so that the public can see them and kind of hold the company responsible. And that's just not something that you get at a lot of companies. Sometimes they will have accessibility pledges and statements, but they may not be sort of publicly shared, or they may not be as transparent. And so that was massive for me. The last couple of things I'd maybe say is one, as I got to reading through job descriptions and whatnot, Sage really give their graduates like quite a lot of responsibility. So you can go to some companies and you might be put into a team as a graduate, but you're kind of bottlenecked or kind of held in place to be able to work in a very specific way. But since I've started in the last month, I've made genuine contributions in my role that will actually help people and will actually help users. I've been invited to give my opinion on things, and I've been asked for my opinion on things, and so that responsibility has been really useful. At times it can be a little bit daunting because you think, "Oh, you're asking me? Why are you asking me? I'm new." But like it's a really great opportunity to be able to ask and talk about those things. And then the very last thing that I would say is the hybrid working. So you can work in a hybrid capacity. So you can work some days from the office and you can work some days from home, which just gives you that little bit of extra flexibility that I think is awesome. I think all companies should do, but not all do.
It's a really good point, Jared. As you can probably tell by our backgrounds, we've got some people in the office. Mine's a very dull white office, but based in the Shard. So outside it's beautiful, but unfortunately I couldn't get a room with a view today, so you can't see it today. But yeah, it certainly is post-COVID. I think the ultimate way to be working, isn't it, in a hybrid fashion. So you still see all your peers and your colleagues, but you also get some time to focus and some downtime on your own at home. Anybody else want to answer that?
I have a little bit of a story about how I even found out about Sage. So I didn't really know too much about Sage, I'll have to admit. And then I was with my father. I was just showing him like job applications, on the screen, you're just scrolling through like job sites. And he saw Sage and he was like, "Oh, I know Sage." And that was the first time he'd ever said that. And to me, that's like, "Oh, you know Sage? Okay." Because like my father's great and stuff, but he's not very aware of everything in the world and every single company. And like my sister doesn't really she works in a company that he doesn't really know. And I'm like, I don't really want that. So it's the fact that Sage has like a strong reputation. That was number one. So that made me send my application. And then Glassdoor, if you are a nosy person, go onto Glassdoor because people are honest about those reviews. And Sage has really, really good reviews. Like, it's really not common to see that for a lot of companies. A lot of companies, people are really like going in. But for Sage, it has really good reviews because they're anonymous. So they really don't have a reason to lie. So it was really wonderful to see that. I really did like that. And like Jared said, the ESG goals. So ESG is sort of like the charitable or social impact section of a corporate company or any sort of organization. And I really think that Sage is working really hard to really like realize those and make them like an actual thing. Because a company can say that they're doing good for the planet and things like that, but when you see it that is embedded into like the actual goals of the company and things like that, that's when you know things are happening. And that is continued even after I've got this role, where I can see that it's in my my goals as an individual contributor to be aware of like carbon emissions and things like that, or like the companies we acquire. I think we acquired one that measures carbon emissions of companies and things like that. So that was really important to me, to make sure that a company is aware of those, how they are fitting in the social aspects, and the fact that they have a reputation of that. If I say I work at Sage, people know where I work. that was a big one. That was a big one for me.
I think that's a really good point you raised there. Is one of our strategic values is human. And that's about the way that you know, everybody could be a high performer, but that comes down to skill sets. But it's the way you carry out tasks at Sage is acknowledged for everything from just day-to-day operations to your reward. So if you're doing things in a non-Sage way, which means not acting with integrity or not acting with a human touch, it's noted. And we don't tend to have too many people like that at Sage, which is great news. Thank you so much. I've got a lovely question here. I've got a feeling I know who's going to answer it. But yeah, what skills did you acquire or have you acquired so far during your graduate program that have been the most valuable? Who would like to take that?
I'll take that, Vicky.
It was an obvious one, wasn't it? Sorry.
So I've learned so much during the past 3 years, both soft skills and more product technical focus skills. But a couple of key ones do actually come to mind. So with my role being in the product world, I've had the opportunity to take part in a product excellence bootcamp. So my team actually wanted me to take part of this in the first year of my graduate program. And it was actually kind of scheduled for the second year of the Ignite program at Sage. But this was a 10-week virtual course, which was run by an external company that comes into Sage for all kind of internal colleagues in Sage. But through this, we learned all about the product framework. We dived into the 20 individual elements across the product lifecycle, and we had to collaborate in teams across Sage, those from different career paths, so didn't previously know them. So it was a really great networking exercise as well. And all of us were actually in different countries as well. And we had to present back on those different topics each week. And I would say this is probably one of the most impactful boot camps to be a part of. It really helped me to appreciate how vast our business is and understand it in a lot more depth. And I've been able to apply it in pretty much every area of my role today. And that includes even in like my product marketing hat and also my product operations hat as well. So I'd say that's one key skill that I've developed during my time here. Another one I'd probably say is business acumen. That's another key skill that I've also developed. So this was something that I obviously touched upon as part of my degree, but being in the real world and having hands-on experience helps to apply it so much. So since actually moving into my role in product operations, this has really helped to develop those skills. So I work with our finance teams to understand our profit and loss accounts, our budgets, to even working with our legal teams to go in more depth on contracts and clauses and stuff like that. And that applies to different rules and regulations all over the world as well. So I've been a part of many projects where it's actually involved like a commercial understanding of strategy and stuff like that. And this is a skill that I really want to continue to grow, as I feel like I've only just kind of scratched the surface, to be honest. There's so much to learn in that space. But to be honest, I could probably go on all of this session to say how many kind of skills I've developed and learned and grown during my 3 years here, but I'll leave it to those two that I've mentioned.
I think that's probably for me one of my favourite parts about being at Sage is the drive to, you absolutely will continue to learn. You know, if you don't like learning, you probably shouldn't be at Sage, because you will be pushed to learn new things on a daily basis. So yeah, really good point. Thank you, Shannon. Anybody else want to take that?
Yeah, I can add to that. I've only been at Sage a month, so I haven't been at Sage as long as Shannon has, but I think it might be wise for me to change my job title to graduate sponge at Sage, because at the moment I'm just taking in information left, right, and center. Skills wise, I think I've become more proficient across a range of different softwares that the company uses. But I think what's probably more pertinent or more applicable to maybe our audience today is to talk about those soft skills that I've developed and learned while I've been here. So whether that's working to deadlines, being really organized, communicating with team members effectively. I had a lot of those skills because I've worked in the past in a teaching role. And some of those skills also I'd garnered from university. So I think you pick some of those up if you've ever worked on a team project, or if you've ever worked on, I don't know, any piece of coursework. You might have a deadline there. But the product that I work on now at Sage has been particularly useful for this, because I don't work on a product that's based out of the UK. Instead, the product that I work on is based in Spain, France, and Germany. So it's in 3 different countries across Europe. And the team that I work in, we have members in Spain, a couple of members in Belgium. We've got a member in Germany, someone in Canada. So we have this sort of mishmash of people from across the world that we have to make sure that are all organized together. And so that's been really sort of useful, because not only do I get to hone those soft skills a little bit more, but it's added that extra dimension. So I need to consider maybe how I'm communicating, if it's with someone who has English as an additional language, or maybe I'm trying to think about scheduling a meeting, but I'm looking at, okay, well, someone works in Canada, someone works in Germany, when's going to be a good time to set that time difference? So it's given me an extra dimension and an extra layer to those things. The job that I do is in content, so I'm writing words and phrases and sentences, and they're all in English, but the content that I create then has to be translated into different languages. So it's a little bit nerdy and geeky, but I'm really enjoying that kind of process of thinking about, okay, I need to work in this verb structure, or I need to think about the male and female forms of verbs in different languages. And so there's just loads of different things at the moment I'm taking on board. And that doesn't even touch on maybe the accounting knowledge that I'm gaining or the product knowledge that I'm gaining. So yeah, it's flown by this last month. It's been sort of filled with lots of learning opportunities and lots of really great skills development opportunities. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Amazing. I really want to put a request in to have your job title changed to graduate scholar. All right. We'll see what your manager says. Thank you so much, Jared.
She's on holiday for 2 weeks, so you might have to wait.
I'm not surprised when she gets back, won't it? We're coming to the end of the panel now. Just a couple of questions. I'm sure our panelists will be delighted to hear. Were there any significant challenges or obstacles you faced or are facing during your graduate program, and if so, how did you overcome them? I could live to regret this one, couldn't I? Who would like to take that?
Go on, I'll take it.
Be kind.
I will, don't worry. I feel like any challenges and obstacles, I think they mainly come from within and kind of like self-perception. So I feel like we've all spoke about imposter syndrome a lot, but I feel like starting your graduate scheme, that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that you'll face, because every day you're surrounded by people who are so good at their role and who are so passionate. And then you go into the office and you see all these people who are in different sections of the business as well, and they're just amazing. And then you look around and you're like, should I be here? And the answer is yes. The way you overcome that, the way I've overcome that, is literally just speaking to people, especially speaking to people about how they got to the point that they're in. Because I think sometimes you feel like, oh, my degree was in this, so I shouldn't be doing this, or I'm not qualified to do this. But I think one thing about Sage is nobody has had the same path to their career at all. We have people who have been butchers before, or have been teachers, or have done so many different things. And I feel like that's how you overcome your imposter syndrome, just really talking to everybody and realizing that everybody's here for a reason. And most of the time, it's just because of who they are as a person. And that honestly makes you feel so much better, because you were selected for a reason, you're there for a reason, and your education it is important, but it's all the other little things that you've learned on the way that really make you who you are. So you just shouldn't feel like an imposter, because there's these people around you and they're probably looking at you thinking, oh my gosh, look at them, look at what they know, which I don't know. So they're probably feeling like an imposter around you anyway, so it's all okay.
I feel that every single day when all of
Yeah.
them baffle me with science. And yeah, I can completely relate. Really, really good advice. I mean, our logo, or sorry, our mantra is breaking down barriers so everybody can thrive. And a lot of people say that now, but what we actually do is just that. And if somebody comes to us and says, well, I don't know, I've got a PE degree, but I really want to get into tech, well, we will do our very best to help you through. So it's not about the background that you have, it's about the willingness that you have to learn and where you want to be in the future. Really good point. Thanks, Alicia. And you were kind, so fantastic. Would anybody else like to take that before we move to the final question?
Yes, please, if I could. So even though I'd studied computer science, I really didn't have any data science like experience. And I was very, 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 very nervous about coming into the role to be a machine learning engineer, this big title. And I really didn't have that much, I didn't feel like I had that much experience in that domain, because studying academically and applying it to real world problems can be very different, and it was a very steep learning curve. But I think for my sort of imposter syndrome, I really wanted like something to help me, and I really was glad that Sage was supportive. In fact, they got me onto like a data science boot camp because I really wanted that sort of external help, that technical help to really boost my skills, like my hard skills as well. So the biggest challenge was definitely that steep learning curve, from going from university to coding in real corporate situations, really not sure if I know all the right things, like, is this the right model? What does AI even stand for? Silly things like that. But it was great that I was able to get on that boot camp to really get that support. And now I do feel a lot more confident. My manager is like, you've done it now. What reason do you have to feel this way? And then I think in that logical breakdown, you're like, oh yeah, you're right. I have done this and this and that and that. And yes, I do know this and that. So that was really, really great. And my confidence is just skyrocketed now.
I mean, I've heard you present on AI topics and I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about, but I just smile and nod knowing that you'll teach me at some point. So
I now know what AI means, guys. It's artificial intelligence. Yep, got it.
Thank you so much. And we come to my favourite question, which closes the panel. But if you could go back in time and give advice to your younger self, what would you say to help them navigate their career journey more effectively? And I'm just going to pick on you as you're in the order on my screen. So Chantel, you appear first.
I think it is it's so hard to say, and I feel like this is such a cop out, but like, it's confidence. I think people see you in a way that you don't see yourself. And I think in the beginning, I used to go into rooms or walk into rooms a little bit shy, a little bit like, yeah, I've done this, but it's not like I haven't done all the things in the world. But that's not the goal. Like, that's not how people see you. They're seeing you as a person and what you're bringing, and the fact that people also know that you can learn. That's also one thing, like, they know you can learn. So if you feel like you've got gaps, you can still be confident and still know that you have gaps in your knowledge. You just come into that space and bring yourself, and everything will be absolutely fine. You will learn along the way. All of that is taken care of. So I think confidence is the biggest one that I'd bring myself, because my confidence has definitely gotten me here. But if I had my confidence just a little bit earlier, who knows? Who knows?
Thank you. Shannon, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, so I would say find what you're passionate about. Spend time investing in your personal development, and just be open and willing to try different opportunities just to help you grow. And just remember that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, sound advice. Alicia, how about you?
I'd probably say the one that I've lived my whole life by is just do it so you have a story to tell when you're 90. So take all those crazy and weird opportunities that your imposter syndrome tells you that you can't do. Volunteer to do that thing, volunteer to be on that panel, because it'll just be a good story to tell when you're older. You'll either tell the story and be like, it's an amazing thing, or you'll be like, this is what happened, I could improve on it, but you'll still have a story.
Yeah, so more pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. It comes up a lot, doesn't it? Thank you. And last but by no means least, how about you, Jared?
Yeah, I would say don't panic. I think it's very easy in moments when you're making big life changes and big life decisions to kind of be fearful of them, or think about like, oh, what if I don't actually want to do that in a few years' time? And the truth is that all of those experiences will amount to something greater. So you're constantly on that journey of building small habits and building small life experiences that are going to help you down the line. So you don't have to get it right the first time. You can try things and you can have a squiggly career route. Who knows, maybe I'll sort of shift into UX going forwards in the future. Maybe I'll shift slightly differently. But yeah, don't panic. There's always room to grow and change and just be the person that you want to be.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of our panel session, and I think we're going to move to Kelly now for the Q&A session.
Perfect. That was great. Thank you so much to all of you for all your contributions there. I believe a lot of the questions that we have had have been answered just kind of as we're going, but I'm just going to pick out some of the more generic key questions. So the first one I want to have a look at is from Jack P, which is, I guess, more aimed at you, Vicky, perhaps, is what roles are on offer at Sage for graduates? So what different types of schemes are on offer?
Really good question, Jack. And the answer is everything you can think of. We don't have graduate programs in areas. Well, of course, that's rubbish. We do. We have people graduates, finance graduates, product and tech graduates, and so forth. But there are graduates and apprentices and interns in each function that we have at Sage. The roles that we have will be determined around about December, which I know is a bit late to the party compared to other employers. And then we start our recruitment process in January. So the best thing to do is, if you're interested, is get in touch with us. We're all on LinkedIn. Get in touch with us around about December, and we can give you a full list of everything that's on offer. But as you can see, there's a really broad spectrum of people on the call alone today. And we have everything from your traditional sort of finance and accountancy roles all the way through our digital solutions, through to people, marketing, and all corporate that you can think of. Not to mention our amazing AI teams as well, which is obviously a thing of the future.
Crazy that we live in an age where we have AI teams now, isn't it?
It really is.
So next, then, this is going to be a bit of a two-parter. So Vicky, I'd like you to answer the first part, which is what is the application process like? And then from our graduates, if I can get one tip from each of you for anyone that is looking to apply, that would be great. So
love it. So application process will start with a very boring application form. Unfortunately, we can't avoid them for data protection reasons. But I like to think it's a bit jazzier than some. So you'd apply online, and then immediately you'd be asked invited to a video interview, which everybody dreads. I know I don't like them, but they're actually quite fun. And we deliver a video at the beginning saying, hey, don't worry, we've all been there, just be yourself. And that's all we're looking to do is get a feel for the person. After that, for this year, we've actually launched something called plyometric testing, which I don't know if those of you have ever been through it when you go through an application, but it's actually psychometric testing. So what it's supposed to do is an unbiased way of evaluating somebody's suitability for a position, but based on their behaviours, not based on skill sets, thus helping us eliminate any bias in the process, and also getting people used to the mindset of it's not about the academics and the educational background or work experience, it's about that person and how they can grow with us. If you go through that process, although it is an element of AI, my team monitor all of that. So they are looking at each individual case. There's no robot at the other end going rejected, accepted. It's my team, and they're absolutely lovely, but they're unbiased. And then after that, if you're selected, you'll go through to the assessment centre, which Jared talked a little bit about. I can't give away the big secret of what the group activity is, but it's fun. And it gets everybody talking and everybody bonding. And most people absolutely love it. And then in the afternoon, you have an hour interview with our lovely hiring team, the manager that's hiring for the role, and normally two of their friends and colleagues. And they come together just to ask you questions about yourself. And they might probe a little bit into what you know about the role, but they're never going to expect you to come to us with work experience. And we also promise everybody that once you go through the process, you go through an assessment centre process, we will let you know if you've been successful or not within 2 days, because it's not right to leave people hanging. There's absolutely nothing worse. Our application process actually runs between January and June because there's over 100 roles in the UK alone. So it takes quite a bit of time to get through them. But my team is very good at communicating it every step of the way.
Wonderful, thank you. And now if I can just get one tip from each of our graduates, please.
Cool. I will start because I think I'm at the top of the screen anyway. Yeah. So one tip for the application process, I would say, is be yourself. Sage is looking for the person, and you as an applicant, you are also interviewing your employer. You want to make sure that this is a team you want to be in. So be yourself, be honest. I was honest about not knowing too much about data science, and I still got the role. So really bringing yourself is definitely something that you can feel comfortable to do, and you should, just because you're going to be working there, you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people. So you want to make sure that it is something you want to do in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll go next because I just want to completely echo that message, to be honest. I would probably say know what you're applying for. Don't try to be somebody that you're not, and just literally bring your full self to the process. Just I encourage you to bring all of you, all the quirks and everything in between. So yeah.
I'd literally say the exact same thing. Just honestly, be authentically you, because whoever's hiring you is going to love that. They don't want you to be the same as the other person on the team. Everybody wants you to be different, because that's how we learn. And honestly, don't panic, because everybody is so lovely who works at Sage and they just want the best for you. So yeah, just be authentically yourself and do not panic.
Yeah, I think I'd just add to that it's okay if you get things wrong. People don't expect you to know the interviews or things like that inside out. I got offered a position where I'd been asked a question during the interview, and I said, "Ooh, I don't think I've learned about that yet, but I'm going to give it my best shot and tell you what things I think might be relevant." And so yeah, it's not like a big scary test. People just want you to be yourself and find out about what you know and who you are.
Perfect. That's some really great advice. So leading on a little bit of Jade's question here, because I think we've answered the majority of her question. What are the qualification requirements for the graduate schemes at Sage?
For the graduate program, we don't determine whether you have to have first or second. You know, it's more about you've been to university and you come to us, even if you don't finish your qualification. You've specialised in the subject. If we're looking at apprenticeships, the minimum is 5 GCSEs, and then we can put them through everything from a level 2 to a level 6 degree apprenticeship. We try to break down barriers as much as we possibly can. Of course, there are certain government legislations when it comes to apprentices, but with grads, like I say, we don't ask for any form of first, second. As long as you've been to university, you've studied, and you're our kind of person, we're happy to explore everything. Nice thing is as well, you don't have to be a recent grad. We've got grads that have got 10 years sort of work experience, and they qualified 10 years ago. And I think even one of them got 15 years ago, they got their degree. So we don't say you can only be a grad if you're fresh out of university, because that's not right.
That was going to be my exact next question, because I think there is this common misconception where people think they have to be a recent graduate in order to apply for a graduate scheme. I definitely used to think that when I was looking at changing my career. So thank you for specifying that. How many grads do you take each year, and which schemes are the most competitive? That's from Gemma.
Thank you, Gemma. They're all really competitive, but as I think Shannon alluded to, in quite a nice, positive way. You don't feel under pressure. It's just really good for the soul, I think, when you know that there's good competition out there. But in the UK, so we are a global programme, but I understand most of the people on the call are probably in the UK looking for UK roles. This year we took on 96 graduates and apprentices, and next year we hope to take about 120. We always scale and grow each year. I think from a competitive perspective, you know, as to what we see absolutely inundated with applications, purely because there's fewer roles. There's always 4 finance graduate roles a year, 2 based in London, 2 based in Newcastle, and that's something I'm working with the finance team to increase, because it's clear there's a real need for it in the market. And yeah, we can get a lot of applications for finance grads. If we're talking about where most numbers come in, it's definitely in finance.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go over to quite a nice question here. I think it's really clear just from hearing you all speak how much you all really enjoy working at Sage. I don't think I've ever seen a panel of people that are so smiley and so excited and happy to talk about their experiences. So I'm going to go over to Emma's question, and hopefully we have enough time for everyone to answer this, is what do you enjoy the most about your role at Sage? You've talked a lot about lots of things that you enjoy, but what's like the best thing?
I'm going to jump in here, and I'm sure you probably don't want to hear from me, but I think there's many highlights in my 7 years at Sage, and I've been through many different roles, but this has been my favourite. But on a completely extracurricular level, 3 weeks ago we were at a local dog's home, feeding the dogs, walking the dogs, cleaning them out, building them houses, giving them blankets. And I said to my friends, oh, yeah, I'm at my local dog's home today. And they're like, what? What do you mean you're at a local dog's home? What about work? Oh, it's through work. So Sage Foundation basically said to me, you can go and spend some time at your local dog centre, take a team with you. So completely separate from the work that I do in early careers. But wow, what an amazing opportunity to be able to have that at work as well.
Lovely. If we just go in the same order.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of like the extracurriculars as well. My thing is hackathons. Sage has quite a few hackathons. I've won quite a few too, not to, and they're absolutely brilliant. The last one I did was ethical AI. So we had some problems. How can we use AI to solve them? My team was like a team in Africa that were trying to revolutionize their university teaching methods. So I love the hackathons and the fact that we can do stuff like that and, for work. That's pretty fun.
Lovely.
Yeah, so I'd probably say the variety. So not only like in your work role, just kind of grab as many opportunities as you can. There's tons of projects that you can be involved in. And as Vicky and Chantal and Alicia and Jared have kind of alluded to in this session, there's just so much opportunity. Like Sage Foundation, it's brilliant. And the people, I would say the people are key, because I've never met like a group of people that actually genuinely care about you as an individual, about your career. The
people you work with is so important. I agree.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say what I've enjoyed most is all the networking opportunities. So I've also done a foundation day. I'm literally on week 4, and I've already done a foundation day with this charity who they get clothes for children who are obviously deprived and help their families and stuff like that. But it wasn't just me and all that. Everybody from my department was doing it. So I really got to network with people who I wouldn't normally get to talk to on a day-to-day basis. And some of them were so inspiring with what they were talking about. So yeah, that's what I've enjoyed most, is the opportunity just to network with anybody and everybody who will get a coffee with you when you ask them to.
It's who you know, not what you know, people.
Exactly.
Jared?
Yeah, and I think finally I'd probably say, that variety, just to echo what Shannon said before. So in a typical day, I might jump between 2, 3, 4 different things. And that's really nice, because you don't get I feel like the days run really quickly. And I think I've been in jobs before where you get to a point where you're like clock counting, essentially, thinking like, oh, when will that sort of end of the day time limit hit? And I haven't experienced that at all here, because there's just such a great range of things that you're doing or things that you're learning. And then the current Biscuit World Cup that's running in the office at the moment is probably also a positive that's quite fun to follow and watch and listen to. So it's a bit off topic, but yeah.
No, that sounds extremely interesting. Brilliant. So our final question from Celeste is for you, Vicky, I suppose. When do applications shut after opening in January?
As I sort of touched on before, because there's so many different roles, they kind of open at different times and close at different times. So my advice to you would probably, if you're interested, probably drop an email to the Early Careers inbox, which I've shared in here. I hope that's okay, Kelly.
Yeah.
And just ask about the specific roles that you're looking for. So my team can then have you on their radar to let you know when it's going to open and when it's going to close. What we do tend to do is open most of them in January, sometimes February. And they can close right up until about April. And the reason that we do that is because we understand that people sometimes apply a bit later on, or they apply immediately. But everybody will get assessed and made into a shortlist. And then at the end of that time, if you apply in January, you'll be told there could be a slight wait on this, up to about 2 months while we shortlist everybody. So it will always be transparent. I would just, like I say, drop an email in December. Tell us exactly which roles you're looking for, so the team can come back to you and give you a really clear heads up on when to apply.
Perfect. Yeah, I was going to highlight that for anyone still with us. Sage has put in the chat box that they are happy to connect with any of you on LinkedIn. There's an email there to contact as well. And that brings us to the end of our session. So thank you so much to yourselves. It's been absolutely wonderful. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.